What would you say is Kundalini and how can one activate it?
Kundalini is a fourth energy, which is the most special. Kundalini is seen as a snake. And here the yogis have seen them as a red color, small tiny snake and not fully grown. And it is coiled around 3.5 times. It is generally believed that those people who have done sadhana on Kundalini sadhana, there's a smoky color Shivlingam on that yellow square at Muladhar, which is sitting horizontally.
Some of the techniques through which I can awaken my Kundalini?
There are a number of things. First of all, awakening your nadis. When there's a balance between Ida and Pingala, then only gets Sushumna active. And Kundalini can flow through Sushumna. When Kundalini awaken, you will know what I'm thinking. You can get into advanced people. The finer energies can only flow through Sushumna. They cannot flow through Ida and Pingala nadi. Ida is more of a subtle body. Pingala is more of gross body. What is aura? Aura is immunity. It retains our energy within us and protects us from outside energies. The more you use your mind, the more your aura gets distorted.
What are the colors of the aura? Because I've heard that the auras can range from pitch black to white.
Yes.
People who are tamasic will have brown, burgundy, black.
Rajasic is red, sattva is white and very soothing yellow. Normally there are cracks on the aura. A person is totally fragmented, imbalanced.
Swamiji Kapri, a revered teacher of authentic Raj and Tantra Yoga, is the founder of Pushkar Meditation Temple in Rajasthan, a sanctuary for seekers from around the world. Having spent decades studying, teaching and living the wisdom of Patanjali's path, Swamiji chose to return to the roots of yogic tradition, offering deeply immersive teachers training and spiritual mentoring rooted in ancient Indian practices. Born in the Himalayan region of Uttarakhand and educated at Bombay University, Swamiji has dedicated his life to restoring the spiritual and meditative heart of yoga far beyond the physical postures.
What is a technique through which I can purify my aura?
Chanting Om. You chant it 9 times. It restores it completely.
Okay.
And for next 24 hours at least you are protected. There's a particular asana called Matsya Kritasana, laughing fish pose, where you sleep on the left side without a pillow. Left leg is straight, right leg is folded. Now that is the ideal sleeping position for the night. If you start sleeping in that position, you get 8 hours sleep in 4 hours, literally. The small kids, they wet their beds.
Yeah.
Put them on the left side, they will never wet the bed.
Okay.
What are chakras? Chakras are basically the psychic points where this Ida and Pingala intersect. Each represent one organ of action. Muladhara represents anus, Swadesham genital, Manipur represents eye, then Anahata represents hand, Vishuddhi represents mouth, speech. If meditation happens, you can get absorbed in that object of meditation. If you are chanting Ganesh mantra, you can become Ganesh, the object of meditation, and you become one. That is what Samadhi.
His transformative retreats in Pushkar and across the globe, including Italy, Portugal and the United States of America, have cultivated not just yoga teachers but lifelong seekers of inner truth. It is our true honor to have with us on today's special spiritual episode of the Body to Being podcast, Swamiji Kapri.
We live at 7 levels. There are 7 lokas, and human beings are only at the 2nd level. Kundalini helps you to sort of go to that final level. So the lowest is Bhur, जिसको हम लोग पाताल कहते हैं.
Hell?
Yes, you can say hell there. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti, Shanti.
Namaste, Swamiji Kapri.
Namaste.
With this podcast, I feel like life's coming full circle because for those of you who don't know, you are in a sense my first spiritual teacher. So Swamiji Kapri happens to be my Mamaji, who is my mother's brother, who's had a huge influence in my life. Right from my childhood years, we've been having long spiritual discussions on life and beyond. So right from that point to setting the stage for me turning to spirituality and eventually becoming a yoga teacher. So Mamaji, I feel like this podcast is long overdue. And the themes that we are going to be discussing today, which is the mystical dimensions of spirituality, such as Kundalini, Tantra, aura, energy body are often abused, exploited due to faulty understanding. And it's very rare to find authentic sources like yourself who can impart this understanding with accuracy. So, thank you so much for gracing my podcast finally. I'm so privileged.
Shloka, by the way, I'm responsible for that name also.
Absolutely. I prepared that in my speech, but I forgot. So Mamaji has given me my name Shloka.
Okay. See, there are symbols in life, which make you sort of really smile within. And you are one such symbol in my life too.
Thank you so
thank you
much.
for giving this opportunity.
Can't wait to delve into the world of mysticism. One of the most researched topics in mysticism and spirituality is that of Kundalini. What is Kundalini exactly? Because from what I know, if a person's Kundalini becomes Jagrat or active, then it can transform an individual on the physical, mental, and the spiritual plane.
Okay. See what differentiates human beings. Okay. As per Tantra, the Nara. There's Shiva, Shakti, and Nara, Anu. The smaller element. All have the same potential, but the individual being has limitations. What differentiates that individual being from other species in nature is Kundalini.
Okay. So a human is different from an animal because we have Kundalini and they do not have Kundalini?
The level of, even animals also, for example, the highest chakra in animals is Muladhara. And that happens with the lowest chakra in human beings. And Muladhara is considered with the generation point of Kundalini, okay, where Kundalini is constantly generated. But in absence of any endeavor to channel it upwards, it just flows with gravity, flows out, flows down. See, there are 4 kind of energies that flow in human beings, okay? The 3 energies flow even in animals also. What are these? First is gross energy, which is plasma, blood, nutrients, all that, okay? Second is pranic energy, breath, okay? Which also is in all the most animals can think. Third is psychic, mental energy, okay? Which is like impulse, current, okay? So now these 3 kind of energies, physical, pranic, and mental, are found in most of the species, even in animals. The level of development is different, okay? Even trees, for example, have that. Even place of astha, or place of worship, rivers, also have that, okay? But in case of what differentiates human being is this Kundalini energy, which is being generated on Muladhara. And if you can channel it upwards to your higher chakras, higher levels of being, existence, then what will happen? That then you are living as a human being. See, in scriptures, we talk of 3 states of consciousness. Bhavas, they call it. Pashu bhav. What is Pashu bhav? What if the person does only 4 things: eats, sleeps, procreates, and dies. This is what Pashu does. Now, when you look around, a lot of people do just that. So they are in fact living in like animals, But one question, if a person, this question comes that, am I a Pashu? An animal? If not, what? That puts you in a higher bhav, which is called Veer bhav, warrior state. Okay? And if you keep pursuing that, then who am I? Then it will take you to some state, to Divya bhav, divine state. So now, taking example of Kundalini energy, now this applies to every kind of spirituality. What is spirituality? Journey from gross to subtle. It's an involution. What has happened is evolution has happened. We have come from subtle to gross. See, the most subtle is the ether element.
Okay.
Which is direction, sound, word. Now, for example, Om is the origin of sound. That first came and formed ether in his life being.
The sound was the original source of ether.
Yes, it's also
and that is Om.
Yes, that is Om. Everything emanated from sound, which is basically Om. There's a ratio. Now, for example, what happens? This whole thing began with sound. Okay. Now, from sound form got transformed into ether. Ether solidified, became air. So air is 2 elements, ether and air. That solidified further, became fire. So 3 elements. That solidified further, became water, 4 elements. CH2. It is basically, there's no difference. It's the same. And if you look at scientifically also, then that solidified further became earth, fifth element.
And Earth has all 5 elements.
Earth has all 5 elements. Entire manifestation or has happened through the process of, we call it evolution. What is spirituality? Involution. We are going back from 5 elements, you go to 4 elements, go to 3, go to 2, and finally 1, and then transcend all matter. These 5 elements are basically matter. You transcend. That is what spirituality is. Okay. Kundalini is a very special kind of energy. Okay. The fourth energy, which is the most special. Why is it special? What happens is, see, we have this again. Sorry, I will talk about nadis there. Okay. 3 nadis, There are Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna. Now, the finer energies can only flow through Sushumna. They cannot flow through Ida and Pingala nadi. Ida is more of subtle body. Pingala is a gross body with 5 elements. Okay. Ida is 17 elements, 5 organs of action, 5 senses of knowledge.
The left side,
yeah. Left side. It is because it flows from at the root chakra, Muladhara. Okay. It flows from like this, starts from the left, Ida. But again, on Swadhisthana, it comes to right. It goes like zigzag, like snake, that, exactly like that, like this, like this, like this. And again, it meets from his own side. That means from left. Pingala on the right side, but it also zigzags in each chakra. We cannot say left and right. Okay. And it pervades the whole body. So what is Kundalini? Kundalini is a special kind of energy, which is very fine energy. What it does, suppose you are a writer. If you're Kundalini awaken, you'll write better. If you're a painter, you will paint better. It's not only a question of spiritual people. And if you're a spiritual person, you will be able to transcend this grossness, the matter, sooner than other people, Your journey becomes finer because what is happening is, ultimately, see, we live at 7 levels. There are 7 lokas, and human beings are only at the 2nd level. Kundalini helps you to sort of go to that final level, higher level of consciousness more easily. This thing basically.
Another part of mysticism is the different levels of existence. This existence that we're experiencing is just one level of existence. I'd love for you to tell us about the different kind of existence that are there.
Yes. It's ironic that Garud Puran, it talks about different level of hells, suffering. Unfortunately, there's no scripture which describes, because there is spread out in different scriptures. Okay. But there's no one compilation which talks about this 7 level of existence.
7 levels of existence.
Yeah, there are 7 levels of existence, spiritually speaking, in terms of levels of consciousness, the thing basically. So the lowest is Bhur. इसको हम लोग पाताल कहते हैं, जो जहाँ पर पाताल लोक सब एकदम lowest kind of thing.
Hell?
You can say hell there kind of thing, but see, hell and heaven concept is not locational in terms of experience. Actually, we have given in saying that lowest. These levels of existence are again not in terms of physically lower and higher. They are levels of, as I said, fineness. Consciousness, level of consciousness. How fine one is. The finer is the highest, finest. And more fine, more gross, like that. You can say the grossest level, where everything is gross, so everything is more materialistic, tamasic. That is what that level is. So, जिसमें हम लोग ये क्या कहते हैं कि all this दानव, निशाचर, उनकी कल्पना करते हैं ना वहाँ से.
Acha, yes, demons and the Rakshas वहाँ बसते हैं.
Exactly. So that concept of the thing, because they are also equally powerful. In fact, they are more powerful than gods. They have defeated gods in many wars, in many times. But the point is, they are more negative, in terms of destructive. Coming back to 7 levels of this thing. So Bhur, which is below the earth, you can say. Then Bhuva, which is the earth, this level, where we are all there.
We are on the 2nd level?
2nd level. Okay. Oh. Then there's a 3rd level, Swaha. Bhur, Bhuva, Swaha. Then higher than this is Maha. Then Janaha. Then Tapaha. And then Satyam. Now the level, the people who live there, their limitations are less and less. They are not dependent on food. They don't suffer, all that. Even a level higher than this, what we call as Swaha. Who live there, general belief is that Gandharvas. Who are Gandharvas? The musicians of gods, people who sing for gods, who play for gods, basically who are very close to gods. So they live there kind of thing. So like that. Then higher than that, gods itself live there. There are gods of different level of God. And last three levels, then this is depending on our this thing. Shaivites say that Shiva is the highest, then followed by Vishnu and followed by Brahma. Vaishnavites will say Vishnu is the highest. That Loka, no, go Dham, whatever they say. And so we'll say Kailash is the highest, like that kind of thing. Those are levels of existence. So in other words, what is happening is there, for human beings, there's too much sort of to experience at the higher level of consciousness, higher level of that spirituality. Because there are no limitations. You're not dependent on food. You're not dependent on this thing. Basically, whole this relational thing is not there. Is one. That oneness you talk about, that oneness prevails, We are with one with everything. So there's no two, no duality.
In the higher levels.
Higher level. Even so, that begins with the Soha, this kind of thing. And as you go higher, it becomes one. And then, so this is basically a Puranic interpretation of that role of the highest, the creator.
Okay. So all these 7 existences are existing parallelly?
Yeah.
Like those 7 existences occur?
Yeah, but then what will happen is the person, for example, let's say the prani, the thing basically, who is experiencing, will be experiencing at one level at a time, basically.
Okay, so I am in the second loka. Chances are, if I do well, I could get promoted to the third loka.
Yes,
or I could get demoted to the first loka.
Yes, you can go to it. That is also possible if you're too tamasic, too destructive, too this thing. So
okay.
that thing basically. So that's why there's this whole concept of karma and punarjanma. Closely related, your karma, what will be your punarjanma is related to how have you spent your life, this life,
Okay. So in all of these, humans reside, like you said, in the first loka, the Rakshas or the demons also reside.
Yeah.
In the higher lokas, the Devtas or the gods reside. So is it just in the second loka that the humans reside, or the humans could also reside in the
It's very interesting. If you look at that, who is at the second level? In a way, who are condemned.
We are condemned?
in a way. Because people come here to exhaust their karmas and get liberated. That is the purpose. See, human life, there's no guarantee that we are going to come back as human in next life.
But people say once a human, always a human.
Yeah, but then there are theories, but it doesn't seem logical. Because if you have not really realized the importance of human as a human being, so then this bhava concept comes, Pashu bhav, Veer bhav, and Divya bhav. And if you persist, continue in Veer bhav, the chances are you will get to Divya bhav, that there's a state. And then the journey begins on those higher lokas, once you are in Divya bhav.
How will my state be in the Divya bhav?
You'll be free from any kind of suffering, limitations. You can be, for example, that what you call, as you go higher, what are the 3 qualities of God? Sattva is unchanging, is one. The thing is, Sattva means it's a changeless principle of change. Chitta knows everything. There is nothing knowable for that. And Ananda, always blissful, perpetual state of bliss, no suffering. So you'll be experiencing those levels, those things, the thing. In other words, literally you will become God.
So once I attain the Divya state, Divya bhav, is it guaranteed that I will get promoted to the other lokas, the higher lokas?
Yes, because see, the point is the basic, you can say, how this whole thing, in terms of spiritual, these beliefs, how they have been built up, the thing basically, by going by the in a way, history of, what has happened. Now, what it says that, for example, now once you have lived like in that Divya Bhava for some time, what you are doing, you are not harming anybody, you are not hurting anybody. So everything is basically, so what will happen in your next life? We decide that last thought decides your next life. The last thought that you depart here, this I can think. And that's it, the chances are that last thought is going to be positive, is going to be higher. It will not be regret. It will not be, something lower harming, something level. So the chances is you will get to that higher level.
Okay.
So that's why how you have lived your life, that determines how will you depart from here.
Namaskaram everyone. So we have an upcoming Ladakh Yoga Retreat. It is yoga and sightseeing. The module that we will be taking up is the Yogasanas module. It is a very subtle and powerful yoga module, and this comes from a 15,000-year-old science. This has transformed my life completely, and I can't wait for these tools to get to you. So please do join us. I look forward. See you soon. Where is Kundalini energy located?
Yes, now it is generally believed that a lot of experiments have been done, particularly in countries like South Korea, US, and other thing, that it is generated at the Muladhara chakra. Now, see, Muladhara chakra is at the lower end of the spinal cord, in the perineum for men, and the cervix for women. Okay, Muladhara chakra. Okay. Now,
It's different for men and women.
Yes. Now, at that point, now what does Muladhara represent? Earth element. And that is what gives color to the each chakras also. No, that thing. Now, Muladhara chakra is yellow. Why is yellow? The color of earth. The symbol of earth is a yellow square. So that is what gives it yellow color. And it is generally believed that people who have done sadhana on Kundalini sadhana, almost invariably, universally, that there's a smoky color Shivlingam on that yellow square at Muladhara, which is sitting horizontally.
This would be in the energy body.
This should be an energy body. Okay.
So the linga would be sitting in the energy body,
yes,
in the Muladhara,
yes,
for individuals who've done a particular kind of sadhana.
Yeah, we have channeled the energies and everything. It is happening for everybody, but people who are aware, not channelizing it, then they visualize it like a smoky color. And there it is, Kundalini is seen as a snake. And here the yogis have seen them as a red color, small tiny snake, not fully grown, small snake, red color. And it is coiled around 3.5 times. Now, this is very symbolic. Because everything is three. There are 3 bhavas, 3 doshas, 3 gunas, 3 bodies, everything 3. So he presents those 3 levels of existence. And that half is the effort of spiritual people, sadhak. That is what differentiates that, that ultimately. And now you visualize that snake, that red color, small snake always keeps mouth open. The tongue leaping out and all that. Okay. And what the sadhaks do, they just try to play with that tongue kind of thing. Idea is to arouse that snake so that it unwinds and rushes up, And that feeling, that is how the whole Kundalini sadhana is done on Muladhara.
Okay, so that is the significance of Kundalini and this coiled snake.
A coiled snake.
Okay.
And then, of course, there are reasons why snake.
Yeah.
Kundalini energy, for example. See, energy, first of all, never flows in a straight line. It goes exactly like a snake, zigzag, like that kind of thing. Number 2, now, that feeling when snake crawl, anything crawling, gives that the creepy feeling.
Yeah.
That same thing initially, when you're awakening Kundalini, you get the same feeling. Kundalini rising up. Okay? That's like that thing. Then third thing, Kundalini is energy which can be renewed. And snake is a creature which renews itself, every 6 months. It sheds its skin, it just becomes totally new. Kundalini has the same effort. Then not everybody knows which snake is poisonous and which snake is harmless. So Kundalini, again, similarly, is dicey. Kundalini can have both effects, I think it can, if you channelize properly, when you are prepared. If you are sattvic, first thing is to become sattvic before you work on Kundalini sadhana.
Okay.
If you are tamasic and if you do Kundalini sadhana, see what happens is all the energy is stirred up. And if you have too much contamination, too much everything rises, kind of thing.
So everything gets animated depending on what your state of being is.
That will get agitated. So everything.
Okay. So when you say sattvic, what is the kind of person I should be before awakening my Kundalini?
Yes. First of all, idea now, sattvic people, what they say, there's 3 levels again. What are the tamasic people are basically good. They think negative, basically negative people who think of harming others and all that kind of thing. And they have no discrimination, what to eat, what to drink. Their lives are not very regulated, kind of thing. They never see sunrise and all that kind of thing. People are disoriented people. And drink, eat, everything kind of thing. Their whole thinking is very low, very gross. The negative is filled with negativity. Then there are Rajasic people very highly ambitious, passionate people. So which is higher than Tamasic, but lower than Sattvic, I think basically. So these people don't mind stepping on somebody, crushing somebody to fulfill their ambition. People just use people, throw them, for just to fulfill. And for what? For power. political power, money power, material things. They just do for ego, highly egoistic people, Rajasic. These two people are certainly not suitable for any kind of sadhana, higher sadhanas, particularly in Kundalini sadhana,
Okay.
which is like snake. Literally, it can really sort of bite you at any point of time. So you should know that kind of handling that kind of thing. And Sattvic people are who know, first of all, that I am not this body. They know this, but they are trying to realize that.
Could you take us through some of the techniques through which I can awaken my Kundalini?
Yes. The first of all, the names of the chakras. Now, your question is, how can I arouse my Kundalini? Now, arousing Kundalini involves following things. First of all, awakening your nadis, 3 kind of nadis. And when that happens, when there's a balance between Ida and Pingala, then only gets Sushumna active. And Kundalini can flow through Sushumna. So you have to first of all awaken your nadis. Means balance your nadis. Sura. That basically number one.
So basically, the way I can test it is if my breath is equal.
Yes.
That's when I know my Sushumna is active.
Sushumna is active.
So in a usual person, I've heard that the dominance of breath switches after every 40 minutes. Is that true?
Yes.
From right to left, left to right?
Yes.
Okay.
It changes.
And for yogis or let's say someone who are very evolved, then it'll be equal or the switch will be very quick, correct?
They can control it by will. They want to they want to do some manual work, immediately think of the thing and their Pingala will get active.
Oh.
They want to do something more intellectual, the thing, it will get in.
More intellectual and?
Spiritual.
Okay. So Pingala will be manual work.
Yes.
And masculine work, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah? And Ida will be the emotional work.
Emotional and more mental.
Okay.
Mental, anything like writing, painting. All these are involved in your level of creative work. So the second thing is now we have to have an understanding of nadis.
Okay.
3 nadis kind of thing, okay? Then you have to have understanding of chakras.
Okay.
Now what are chakras? Chakras are basically the psychic points where this Ida and Pingala intersect. They intersect means they don't really intersect, but then they're like a junction, railway station. They pass there, because they are ultimately in a channel, nadi kind of thing basically. So these are the part. Now these are like switches. So what are chakras? Chakras are like switches.
Okay.
They control certain aspects of our life, kind of thing basically. Now Mooladhara chakra, for example, where the generation point of Kundalini is the switch for complete what you call that earth element. If you want to awaken your earth element, make it this and get away from it, then you need to understand what Mooladhara is all about. And this whole sadhana, as I told you, of playing with the snake, making the snake move up. What you have done, you have taken the energy from Mooladhara up. It will go to Swadhisthana, it will go to Manipur, and go to higher, depending on your level of sadhana. Now, each chakra represents one element. Each chakra represents one organ of action. Now, Mooladhara, for example, represents anus. Its sense of knowledge, it represents nose. Each chakra, okay? Then it represents one tan matra. So it represents smell. During this, what you call that pandemic, for example, people loss of sense. Because what had happened, their Mooladhara got totally disturbed, So people lost sense of smell, even a lot of people. And today also, suppose you want to do that, you do little bit, take some sadhana on Mooladhara chakra, and your sense of smell will improve considerably.
Okay.
Yeah. And it has, all these senses have direct correlation with the brain, with mind. Because ultimately, there are points in mind that connect these chakras, So they become inactive. So when you do Mooladhara sadhana, that particular point in the brain, which controls gandha, smell, that gets activated. Swadhisthana represents water, Manipur represents fire element, Anahat, air element, and this is what you call Vishuddhi represents ether element.
Can you tell me the location of the Swadhisthana?
Yes. Now, Swadhisthana actually is on the sacrum. The easiest way to do is basically to think of your kidneys.
Okay.
It is parallel to kidneys on the spinal cord back. And if you take it in terms of physical location, what is sacrum is the 4 discs frozen together, invariably between the second and third disc, where they are joined together at that point.
Okay.
But then what happens is, particularly women, for example, after delivery, it moves. It gets affected, And in case of people who are sort of have chronic diseases, it moves up and down, but basically on the sacrum. So best thing is to think of your kidney and go to it. See, the one mistake that most people do, when they think of chakras, they think in the front side here.
Yeah.
No, that is kshetram.
Oh.
That is, we call it kshetram, where the effect of that chakra is there. But chakras are all on the spine. Then you move up along the spine. Then you come to Manipur. Where on the spine? It's not here in the navel.
Okay.
Yes.
It's believed that it's half an inch below the navel.
No, this is on the not below the navel. They're behind the navel. In fact, slightly on the spine. If you put your finger in the navel like this, put your finger on the spinal cord exactly opposite, push them, and where you can feel your Manipur chakra, literally, on the spine, literally. Similarly, you can feel Anahat like this. You can feel Vishuddhi like this here. Vishuddhi is not here. Vishuddhi is here on the spine. The spine goes like this, Yeah.
Okay.
Then they represent in terms of with different tanmatras, different, what you call different senses of knowledge, each one. As I told you, Manipur is a fire element, then eye. Anahata is air element, is skin. Okay.
So
All
if people
touching.
who have good skin will have a good anahata, for example.
Yes.
Okay. And what is the organ related to the Manipuraka?
Manipur is organ related is eyes,
Okay.
sense of the thing, and feet, fire element. Hand is air element.
Okay, so people who are, say, good dancers will have a good Manipuraka. Is that?
If they use their feet more, then Manipur will get
Runners, athletes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Anahata, you said, was
Air element.
Air element. Okay.
And it has to do with hands. Generally, people who are generous, and hands are as per Indian, our scriptures are for giving.
Yes.
Hands for use for giving. Now, Agya represents our mind. These are the seat of Shakti. For example, the short Om, OM. Okay. Now, what happens is, now there's another aspect of each chakra has number of petals. Each chakra resembles a flower, lotus. Why lotus? Because these chakras are there. We see almost all our gods and saints sitting on a lotus. Because sign of detachment. Ultimately, detachment is the key for spirituality. So these are the chakras. So, and now research has shown that the number of petals represents the number of chakras that are joined to that particular chakra. Okay. Muladhara has 4 petals. The 4 key chakras in that part of the body. Swadhisthana has 6. Okay, so 6 chakras in that area, 6 nadi systems. Manipur has 10. Anahata has 12. Vishuddhi has 16. So this is, and Agya has only 2 petals.
So these petals are what, sub-chakras or nadis?
No, they represent 2 things. The key nadi system that come and meet at that point, the junction, chakra junction, that is one. And second thing is, as I'm seeing it, putting in that kind of thing, basically, we have these 112 chakras in the body.
Correct.
So these chakras in the respective part of the body, key chakras, also represented by petals.
So the 7 are the main chakras and the other are the subordinate chakras?
No, they are not really subordinate. Yeah. In the sense, see, second, what happens is, if we are working on Kundalini, as per yoga, the 7 chakras plus Vishuddhi, very important. Very bindu at the back of the, under the top tier. So these 8 are very important. If you are using the tantric kind of this thing, your Kundalini thing, then there are 12 plus bindu, 12 chakras.
Okay.
What Swadhisthana is, basically what happens is pushes is up, but also there is a Rudra Granthi, the Brahma Granthi. It blocks also Kundalini energy.
Okay.
So there it gets blocked there, it gets blocked on Anahat with the Vishnu Granthi, it gets blocked here in Kapala with Rudra Granthi. These 3 blockages are there. What are these? These are nature's way of protecting the power of this, the Kundalini, from getting into wrong hands by being misused. But you can, because what happens is, if your Kundalini awaken, you can just, for example, you will know what I'm thinking. You can get into man's people, they think, yes. Yes. And then you will, and you can see in terms of in future what is going to happen. You don't have to refer to your horoscope and all that kind of thing. Awakening of Kundalini is removal of your ignorance. Okay, then there are meditation techniques. Now, for example, this Soham is level 1,
Okay.
I'm that kind of thing, basically. So now that what you can do is that we can do it on one particular chakra, for example, Nahat. Or you can do it by moving into 2 various chakras. And there's a level 2 of Soham, Naham Idam Sharinam. then Koham, then Shivoham, I think level 2. That also can be simple way of mantra. You chant that mantra on chakras.
Okay.
Now, for example, it goes like Muladhara. Naham idam shariram koham shivo.
Okay.
You can awaken chakras, you can awaken, take the Kundalini.
Okay.
Okay, then there are also, there are number, as I told you, there are 112
Ways.
upaya, dharanas, ways of, only in Kashmir Shaivism. Then Kriya Yoga is different. Then Sura Yoga is different. There's also just by regulating your breath, you can awaken your chakras.
When we talk about the Kundalini, another term that comes up is the third eye. And many people think it's literally the third eye, but it's not like your forehead cracked open. It's a different dimension of perception. Can you explain to us what the third eye is?
See, third eye is referred, it is Agnya Chakra, basically in yoga. It is called Bhru Madhya in Tantra. Bhru Madhya. At the upper end of the spine, in the middle of the head, is Agnya Chakra, third eye. Okay. Now, what happens is, for all the people who are doing any effort, any endeavor to take the energy higher, so first, where they take it to Agnya Chakra. Because between Agnya and Sahasrara, this is more psychic. There is no nadi there, physical nadi. From Agnya Chakra to Sahasrara is psychic, mental, the channel. It's not physical channel. You can only, if you want to look at the spine, it will be from Muladhara to Agnya Chakra, okay? And so then. Now, these two chakras are highly connected. Now, for example, there are two mudras. For example, a Chinna mudra. You go into this when you take the thing, Paman. There's a Nasakra mudra on the face. Now, this one, Hasta mudra, Chinna, and this Nasakra mudra, when you take the side to tip of the nose, what happens? These two chakras get integrated, become one, Muladhara and the thing.
Okay.
So now for a lot of people, you don't really need to start there. If you can go through the mudra route or kriya route, you can start the whole process here. And what you have done is, you have circumvented two granthis, two knots, blockages. One Brahma Granthi on Swadhisthana and Vishnu Granthi on Anahat. So you have only one Granthi left here. And for that, there are a number of techniques that you can circumvent that. Basically. So why is it called Agnya Chakra? Because if it is developed, for example, now we work together for some time. If Agnya Chakra is awakened, I don't need to physically contact you, make a phone call or I can just, at a particular time, I just can send you a signal to your Agnya Chakra. You'll know that your teacher or your Moibar is wanting you, kind of thing. And you can communicate with your guru, with your teacher. That was why it was called Agnya Chakra. Okay?
Telepathy.
Yes. Telepathy has some amount of what you call ambiguity, But here is direct communication. You can see your guru, you can hear him, you can really sort of interact with your guru, kind of thing, basically. It's like...
That's how people connected to gods in all the olden times. They say we talk to Shiva.
One interesting example is their distances between Earth and stars or and planets, Now, millions of years back, our rishis, sages, they could measure that distance. And even nobody can question that even by a centimeter, They think it's so accurate. How did they do it?
Correct.
Because their belief was that Brahmande, whatever is there in Brahmand, Pinde, same thing as in this Pind. They visualized everything within, all this. And within there, they could have their own measurements, within the body.
So the entire universe is within you. So if you know yourself, you know the universe.
In Shlloka, why this happens? Because at the level of soul, we are all one. The finer you get, you get more like soul. Then for you, this distance of body, it doesn't make a difference, no? You can feel my emotions, you can feel what I'm thinking, my thoughts, my everything, basically. Because at that level, we are one.
To continue watching shorter pieces of this content, you can subscribe to Shlloka Clips on YouTube. Don't forget to like this video and follow us on Spotify. Pranam.
Aura is another topic that fascinates a lot of people, including me. And it is said that if you can gauge one's aura, then you will know everything about their physical structure, mental structure, karmic structure, even their past and future. Is that true?
What is aura? Aura is basically our immunity.
Immunity.
Yes. What does immunity does? It retains our energy within us and protects us from outside energies. Outside influences, bacteria, everything. Okay. Now that is one aspect which has been proven. Now, what is aura is dependent on the flow of energies within. So when you say you can know about the past, present kind of thing, you certainly know about how the energies are flowing in the person. There will be energy flow pattern in the body. Now, are they rhythmic? Are they sort of synergized? Or they are chaotic? I think basically. So that will determine. Now, what has been found out back in, a lot of research been done, particularly in South Korea, where I'm associated with them. The more you use your mind, the more your aura gets distorted. There is a direct relation with use of mind and aura on immunity. This is my explanation, that because the more mind you use, the mind gets starved of these nutrients and all that. So you get more confused, clarity of mind goes, you don't know who you are, this thing basically, and you think you are body, matter, and that distorts everything, kind of. So that could possibly be the reason. But the fact is that aura has direct relation with our mind. The more mind we use, that's basically particularly lower mind, the thing basically, the more it is distorted.
When you say lower mind, it means?
Mana, buddhi, viveka, then pragya, then atma. Or at higher level, if you use the mind, you go to don't use it like mana as, like a monkey.
Monkey mind.
Monkey mind, okay. Go to at a level of buddhi, intellect, little higher, kind of little stable. Go to vivek level. So the higher the thing. And in fact, a lot of people, successful people in life, they don't operate at mind level. This is the differentiation. If you look at people in society, even in material world, who are successful, who don't use mind at the lowest level, they're not
eating,
reactive.
Sleeping, reproducing.
That's one they are reactive people.
Okay.
They are always
compulsive.
They're impulsive people, There's impulse, reactive. They don't allow.
Okay.
This is actually what happens in now. Only human being. This aura doesn't, in animals, whatever aura they have, it doesn't get distorted like human beings.
Animals also have an aura?
Yes. Animals have also aura. Trees have auras. Temples have auras. Rivers have auras. जैसे हम लोग ये परिक्रमा करते हैं नर्मदा जी की. You know why that parikrama, these things? This is our ancestors were really very wise people. They realized that the aura of the river is healing, is purifying. It is spiritual. It fills you with spirituality. Pushkar parikrama, every lake, I think basically, Girdar ki parikrama. Why these parikramas? Because all these places of faith, आस्था के जो केंद्र हैं, इनका अपना aura है. When you go around that, you are literally sort of imbibing that aura, purifying your aura with that aura. Okay. That's why परिक्रमा, हर मंदिर में हमारे परिक्रमा, और वहाँ पे नंबर भी लिमिटेड है कि इसमें 3 करो, इसमें 7 करो, इसमें 8 करो.
Why?
शिव की, क्योंकि उतना पावरफुल ऑरा है उसका. शिव की you don't do more than half. Because the aura of Shiva is so powerful, not everybody can take it. So आदि परिक्रमा, अधिकांश लोगों की 3 परिक्रमास, जैसे पर्वतों की 1 परिक्रमा हो ना. So परिक्रमा, this accumulation is a big thing, just a scientific thing. And if you go, for example, in many places here, and by olden days in India, we did not worship temples. What
Correct.
we call. There are no temples.
There was no temple worship traditionally.
There was no temple worship. There was no Murti Puja.
Murti Puja.
Yeah. So at that time, what were worshipped? The 5 elements. We worshipped earth. Bhumi Puja. हर जगह, हर गांव में भूमियों के मंदिर होते हैं. अभी भी होते हैं गांव में. Then we worshipped tree, which is basically symbolic of water element and earth element. Okay. Nothing basically. Then we worshipped river, lakes, water element. Now Pushkar, for example, considered one of the most important. The lake was the main deity. The temple came much later.
Okay.
So people went there to a particular dip. और ड्रिप का भी एक साइंटिफिक तरीका होता है. 3 बार आप ना पहले पानी को हम लोग मानते हैं कि उसमें श्राप रहता है उसमें कि उसको 3 तरह उसका श्राप हटाओ पहले मंत्र करके, उसके बाद 3 बार डिप लो उससे. और वाई 3 बार अभी?
Why 3 times?
Yes, because everything is 3 bodies.
Oh, beautiful.
3 doshas, 3 gunas, 3 bhavas.
And what are the colors of the aura? Because I've heard that the auras can range from pitch black to white.
The aura affects your chakras, the flow, energy flow in the body.
Okay.
So which chakra gets more dominant, that way the color is the thing. So what happens is, normally there are cracks on the aura, the thing basically.
The cracks on the aura.
So what a plan. And it can look very frightening, actually, some other
Yeah?
auras, yeah. And that just happens when the person is totally fragmented, in the sense imbalanced, kind of thing, mentally divided, kind of thing, struggling. The auras are very fragmented. The person is very, very peaceful, spiritual, अपना जैसे हो गया वहाँ से. तो there's a tradition in India. A lot of people, for example, क्या करते थे, जैसे they will used to write राम 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 राम, दिन भर वो लिखेंगे कागज में वहाँ से. What did they do? It just balances your aura. क्योंकि in the flow of energy, because your mind involved होता है, hand involved होता है, उससे और एक rhythm होता है उसके लिए, आप एक ही चीज लिख रहे हो. It creates a particular flow of energy.
Okay.
So it balances your aura.
Oh.
Even that exercise, mantra jap also similarly balances your aura. So auras have this thing. Coming back to your color, yes, if it's more fragmented, it will be more vivid. And Chakras की बात, अब जैसे मेरी बात होती है, स्वामी सत्यानंद भी वो कहते थे कि पर ये कि नहीं, जरूरी नहीं कि इनिशियली अधिकांश ऑरा ब्राउनिश लगते हैं आपको initially when you start seeing them. Then and slowly as the person spiritually grows,
Okay.
then it turns towards lighter colors.
So when a baby is born, he or she will have a brown aura?
No, a baby is born, baby will have a very clear aura, because I'll tell you that divine aura. The sattva has 3 colors. Tama has 3 colors, predominantly. And Raja has 3 colors. Sattva, Raja and Tama. Tama are dark black, dark brownish, unpleasant brownish, burgundy kind of thing. The thing is dark.
So people who are tamasic will have usually brown, burgundy, black.
Over Rajasic is red, bright red, kind of like a blood red kind of thing. And then green, dark, very green kind of thing, basically. Bright color, violet or crimson, one of these 2 colors. That is of Rajas. And Sattva is white and very soothing yellow. All these are basically within. White is the first, and yellow is second, and then purplish, kind of thing, light, pleasant kind of thing, basically. So these are the 3 colors, pretty dominant.
What is a technique through which I can purify my aura?
Chanting Om.
Chanting Om?
Yes. There is something called, the first letter of Sanskrit alphabet is O. When you chant Om loudly, it's called Omkara. Chanting Om, okay? So if you do it Omkara, it creates a vritta around you, which is basically vritta of aura.
What is Vrit?
Vritta is circle.
Okay.
Vritta means circle, like an aura, circle. So how you seen the pictures of gods and saints, aura is like that only, around you. It's proven that it enhances, increases your aura.
Okay.
And you chant it 9 times, which is called Omkaravata as per Tantra. It restores it completely. Next 24 hours at least you are protected, the thing basically.
Just 9 times.
9 times. 9 is a complete number as per Sanskrit.
So chanting Om 9 times can purify my aura?
Yes.
For
Not
24
only
hours?
purify, it will completely restore it.
Okay.
And keep you protected. And aura, as you say, immunity, it will keep you protected all day, from everything, and makes you far more confident. So even if you don't have time for whole sadhana, just do chant Om 9 times. But chant Om is first letter. Bring the lips closer, it turns O. Seal the lips, it becomes Mo. So it is basically chanting O. So Omkara, that's the thing.
Can you take us through the technique of chanting Om correctly?
See, I'm chanting it on Anahat now. It will always depend on which chakra you chant. It will sound differently.
Really?
Yes. Now I'll chant it for you on Muladhara and chant it on Anahat and chant it on Agya, okay? 3 times. Or 9 times will be too long. 3 times, okay? Same thing on Anahat. Same thing on Agya. In fact, you should try to make all 3 sounds equal, In my case, more became shorter. Because I'm not sitting properly. I should be sitting. So that's
So A, U, M have to be of equal time duration.
as far as possible. But there are three different aspects of life again. Our belief is that there's a causal body that travels from life to life.
What is the causal body?
Okay, now it takes us to physiology of yoga.
Okay.
There's a third body which sort of supports it, which is the cause of these two bodies. It's called causal body, Karana Sharir. No matter here. Soul has no matter. But when as long as it is encased in causal body, it cannot be totally free. So it has to get out of that. So that is why these higher chakras, this higher than Sahasrara, the Shakti, then Vyapini, these as per Tantra, which so it's no trace of matter. Ki main Atma hu, Aham Atma. Then of course we say Atmeva Brahma. There's no difference between Atma and Brahma. So you can declare Aham Brahmasmi, main Brahma hu. Now this also is a very wonderful sadhana itself, just chanting, repeating these three mantras. Om Aham Atma, Atmeva Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi. So this is your question was, so these are three bodies. Now these three bodies are further divided into 5 koshas, 5 sheaths. Gross body is sort of corresponds to Annamaya kosha. What is Annamaya kosha? The outer sheath, which is made up of 5 elements, is sustained by 5 elements. What are 5 elements? Food is 5 elements.
Okay.
And when it disintegrates, it merges in 5 elements.
Earth, fire, wind, water, space.
Yes. But subtle body, Sukshma Sharir, has 3 koshas. Pranamaya, Manomaya and Vijnanamaya. Now what is Pranamaya kosha? It's the vital body, that breath body. It's a different body, which is sustained by breath. And please remember that all actions happens in Pranamaya. Then higher than that is Manomaya, mind body, mind sheath. All the thought happens there. Then higher than that is Vijnanamaya, where there is no balance between, no synergy between Pranamaya and Manomaya, then there's chaos. All these people, lots of people, there's people disoriented, destructive people. That is what is that. This is the problem, that Pranamaya actions are different and thought is different. There's no synergy between the two. If there's a balance between the two, then you come to Vijnanamaya. Then your life is balanced. You turn to become Sattvic. And if you are there, then for you it becomes easy to go to last kosha, which is Anandamaya kosha, which is same, nothing, no different from causal body. Then you live in that, what you call pragya, that consciousness that I am not this body, I am soul. Similarly, now there are 3 bodies, 5 koshas. Okay. Then there are 5 pranas. We say prana is not one. Different part of the body is affected, dominated by different prana. Main prana, which is inhale and exhale, mostly unconsciously, is prana, which goes into lungs. Then there is samana, which is outside lungs, inside the rib cage, in thoracic area. Then there is apana, which is in the abdomen. Then there is udana, which is in the extremities, head, hand, and this thing. And this is vyana, which is everywhere, but it has an emergency breath. So these 5 kind of breaths, understanding of these 5 breaths. So what happens is, now look at Ashtanga Yoga, Raj Yoga. What it does, Yama and Yama, first 2 this thing. What Yama does is gives you peace of mind. Without peace of mind, see, you can't do anything meaningful in life. Spirituality is far more challenging. So peace of mind is not peaceful. If you are agitated, you can't do anything. So Yamas give you peace of mind. What are Yamas? Ahimsa, no violence, non-violence. Satya, non-lying. Asteya, non-stealing. What you call brahmacharya, non-excessive behavior in every respect, particularly in terms of sex. And then aparigraha, non-greed, non-craving for this thing.
Ashtanga Yoga is not a brand of yoga, as most people think, right? Ashtanga Yoga means 8 limbs of yoga.
Yes, Ashtanga is one of the names for Patanjali Yoga. Next comes asana, yogasana. Now, yogasana is not many people know is 3 things. It's physical movement synchronized with breathing and awareness either on a physical point or on a chakra. Other it is physical exercise, then better you go to a gym. And that's why a lot of people, they think they are doing asanas, they think, but no, they are doing physical exercise. It keeps them there. If you do yogasana with these 3 things, what it will do, it will immediately take you from gross body to subtle body. So grossness of the body literally dissipates.
With yogasanas.
With yogasanas. So there's something called yoga mantra, it's very wonderful. It says, Vande Guru Nam Charanarvinda, having saluted Guru, because being a traditional thing, Sandarshita swatma sukhavodi. This is what yoga does. What it does, darshit is to show. Sandarshit is to reveal, to show us well. What? Swatma. It reveals your true self to yourself. And once that happens, what happens? Sukhavodi. You live in perpetual state of bliss. Sukha becomes your bodh, your constant awareness. There is no suffering because soul knows no suffering. So this is what literally happens. If you do yogasana correctly, you will get into subtle body. So the body will not draw your attention. Today what is happening is you sit in meditation, घुटना दर्द कर रहा है, ये बैक दर्द कर रही है. The physical body is drawing your attention. That stops. That is the purpose of yogasana. That body becomes so flexible, you live in a subtle state of existence. And pranayama, the fourth limb, takes you from subtle to causal body. That's why pranayama is so powerful. Any pranayama, for that matter, but technique is very, very important in pranayama. What is pranayama? Patanjali has defined in wonderful. Kumbhak is pranayama. There are three aspects of breathing. Inhaling, which is called purak, then kumbhak, holding, and rechak, which is exhaling. Now, you cannot hold kumbhak, you cannot hold unless you inhale, and you can't hold indefinitely. You have to do this thing. So Patanjali calls kumbhak, holding his breath. And our breath and mind are very closely linked. Manopranama.
Correct. So if I'm angry, my breath will be uneven.
Exactly, your breath becomes So if you can control your breath, you can control your mind. Because one is responsible for action, other is responsible for thought. If you control your action, even if your thought is violent, if action you restrain, will not become violent. There are four inner ones, which is fifth, now pratyahara. Now that is the most important limb of Ashtanga or yoga for that matter, which is pratyahara. Literally pratyahara means regulating the ahar of your mind.
Food of the mind.
Yes, of the mind. In other words, let the senses be under control. And what is control means here? Not suppression, but disinterest in the material world. Then if pratyahara happens, if your senses get withdrawn from the material world. Sixth is dharana, concentration. What is concentration? Just being able to put, because the mind has flicker, fidgety. So it has to be putting at one place, one point, one mantra, one thing, basically. That is dharana. If you do that for a certain period of time, it will get turned into dhyana, which is meditation. So meditation cannot be made to happen by closing your eyes. The mind will start racing all the more. So if you are able to get up to pratyahara, then if you are able to concentrate on a particular one topic, one thing, a single pointed concentration, that will automatically then dhyana meditation can happen. And if meditation happens, then at some point of time, you can get absorbed in that object of meditation. If you're chanting Ganesh mantra, you can become Ganesh. If you're Soham, you can soul like anything. Then that has happened. That's why
Patanjali, so you become an embodiment of that. So the point and you merge and become one.
Absolutely. The object of meditation and you become one, that is what samadhi.
So you can become God.
Absolutely.
You can become divine.
Absolutely.
Okay. That is samadhi.
That is what samadhi
Okay.
is. Now tomorrow, suppose I just declare myself that I'm Shiva, which is a fact.
Yeah.
If I start living like Shiva, people will see me as Shiva. Because now why they don't see me as Shiva? Because they know that I'm limited with his name, family, there's all kind of things, limitations are there. No? So that is all. Who is responsible for that? I'm responsible for that. So we are not living at that level, basically. So that is a different approach, which is asampragyat samadhi. कि मैं तो शिव हूँ, मैं शक्ति हूँ, मैं ये हूँ, मैं गणेश जो भी हूँ, मैं आत्मा हूँ. This Krishna and Radha, Radha, what happens every time Krishna plays the flute and all these gopis leave everything, whatever they are doing. This is how the Bhagavad describes everything, To use the boat, go to the other end. First thing what you do is, you discard that boat. उसको भाग छोड़ करके, और फिर भी राधा है या गोपी है, जो भागती है कृष्णा की तरफ, तो नाव को साथ में नहीं ले जाती है. Okay, that boat leave the boat and rushes and gets into the embrace of Krishna and becomes one. Now these are three things here. This explains dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. In the first stage of dharana, there was Krishna's flute that Gopi was hearing. Gopi was separate. Okay, so and that's intense desire to go and merge with this thing that she had. Okay, so there's a medium. Now here, what is the medium she's using? That boat to get across. But that medium has to disappear. When they get to the other end of the river, she leaves the medium. So similarly, agar aap mantra jap rahe ho, the mantra has to disappear. It disappears.
Okay.
If you are using visualization, just form, that form disappears. Okay, that's the first. What happens is, what remains? Just two elements. Of the three elements, meditator, medium, and object of meditation, the medium has disappeared. So meditator and object of meditation. That is what becomes dhyan, meditation. And stage comes when the meditator disappears.
Okay. Meditator dissolves into the
Dissolves in the object of meditation.
Okay.
And that is what samadhi is. Now, then not many people know that our right lung is 30% larger than the left. Why is that? On the left side, the heart is there. So the lungs have to make space for heart. So left lung is 30% smaller. Now, and it is also fact that when you inhale and exhale from the right nostril, you use your right lung. Every time you are using your right lung, you are providing 30% more oxygen to your system. Now, there's a particular asana called Matsya Kritasana or flapping fish pose, where you sleep on the left side without a pillow. Okay, your head is like on the left side, your body is straight, left leg is straight, right leg is folded, right toe comes behind the left knee, okay, like this. Now, that is the ideal sleeping position for the night. If you start sleeping in that position, you get 8 hours sleep in 4 hours, literally. There have been so many experiments. And there are so many other benefits. If you just sort of Google this, saying that benefits of sleeping on the left side, but 25, 26 benefits. Okay. There's first of all more oxygen. Then our heart is rested on the floor. The gravity is not working there. Our lung and pancreas are at a level where the secretion happens easily. That thing, and it flows, gets merged into the food kind of basically. And your gross body is active, then your mind is totally peaceful. Senses are peaceful. You'll sleep far more, the thing. And this is a short remedy for people. A lot of people, particularly people, older people, they have to get up in the night to go to loo. If they sleep less hours, they don't have to go that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
A lot of small kids, they wet their beds.
Yeah.
Put them on the left side, they think they will never wet the bed. See, the yoga is closely related to our life, basically how we live.
In spirituality, numbers have been given a lot of significance. Like you were mentioning, there's 3, then there is 64, there is 108. Rudraksh beads are 108. What is the reason of these numbers? For example, in 108, I've been told that the diameter of the sun and the distance between the sun and the earth is 108 times. The diameter of the moon and the distance of moon and earth is 108 times. So what do these numbers signify in spirituality?
My understanding here, Shloka, is that 108 is the number of chakras that are in body.
Okay.
And that in important chakras. And important because when you go to this, people who do acupressure, acupuncture particularly this thing, they will put those pins at 108 points.
Okay.
So 108 beads on a mala and all that kind of thing. So you touch almost every of the important chakras in the body. Those psychic points in the body, important points. So that is what my understanding is, 108. And there's another important number in spirituality is 9. Because 9 is considered the complete number. After that, the highest number. After that, 10 onward. And beauty of 9 is, no matter you multiply it by any number of times, it remains 9.
Yeah.
So that's called complete number. So 9 has that significance. And then otherwise, for example, mala is 100 can be divided into 54, half. Then what you call 54 can be 26, like that, half of kind of thing. So that is half of the chakras, kind of thing, very important points in life.
Thank you, Mama.
Thank you so much.
Podcast. And like I mentioned, this podcast is perhaps the most special podcast that I've done in the limited podcast that we've done. Hope to see you back sometime in the future. Any last parting words?
Yes, let the viewers also feel the same way. That's nice. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And I really enjoyed the session. And I'm sure but the thing is, and if they can benefit from whatever I have said, it will be, because my purpose of whole sharing my knowledge, sharing my sadhana is to remove distortions.
Yes.
So please, if they can learn something from this, good. Thank you. Thank you so much.
To continue watching shorter pieces of this content, you can subscribe to Shloka Clips on YouTube. Don't forget to like this video and follow us on Spotify. Pranam.
In case you'd like to be a part of our online and in-person yoga, diet and spiritual programs,
You can join our WhatsApp group below, where we post all our upcoming programs and give free tips on health, diet, and lifestyle.